What are you underestimating? Think about that carefully. Not what other people are underestimating. Not what the world is overlooking. What are you underestimating in your own life? Because one of the most common human habits is overlooking the value of what is already within reach. People look at what they do not have, what they have not achieved, what others possess, what others seem to do better. And in the process, they completely miss the value of what is already in their hands. That is one reason the story of David continues to resonate thousands of years later. Most people focus on the giant, the size, the danger, the impossibility. But the deeper lesson may be found somewhere else. It may be found in the sling. Think about that. A simple sling, an ordinary tool. Nothing impressive, nothing glamorous, nothing that would attract attention. Yet it became part of one of the most famous victories in biblical history. Why? Because value is not always determined by appearance. And maybe that is something people still struggle to understand today. Modern culture constantly teaches people to look for bigger things, bigger opportunities, bigger platforms, bigger resources, bigger recognition. People assume that success requires something extraordinary, something rare, something unavailable. But what if many breakthroughs begin with ordinary things? What if people are overlooking their greatest opportunities simply because they do not look impressive enough? Think about how often this happens. Someone has a skill but dismisses it as too common. Someone has experience but assumes it is not valuable. Someone has an idea but never acts on it because it seems too simple. Someone has an opportunity but ignores it while waiting for something bigger. And years later, they wonder why nothing changed. The problem was not always a lack of potential. Sometimes the problem was a failure to recognize value. Humans are often attracted to what is distant, what is unavailable, what belongs to someone else. But they rarely appreciate what is already within reach. That is why comparison becomes so dangerous. Comparison shifts attention away from personal strengths. Instead of developing their own gifts, people become obsessed with someone else's gifts. Instead of using their own opportunities, they become distracted by someone else's opportunities. Instead of building with what they have, they spend years wishing they had something different. And in doing so, they underestimate themselves. Think about David for a moment. He could have focused on what he lacked. He lacked military training. He lacked armor. He lacked experience in war. He lacked the physical advantages everyone expected. But instead of focusing on what he did not have, he focused on what he did have. That is a powerful shift in perspective. Because many people spend their lives measuring limitations instead of recognizing strengths. They count every reason they cannot move forward, every obstacle, every disadvantage, every weakness. But they rarely stop and ask a different question. What resources are already available? What strengths already exist? What opportunities are already present? What abilities have been ignored for years? Because sometimes the answer people are looking for is much closer than they realize. Now, think about modern life. People constantly feel unqualified, not experienced enough, not educated enough, not wealthy enough, not connected enough, not influential enough. The list never ends. And because they focus on what they lack, they become paralyzed. They wait and wait and wait, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect circumstances, the perfect level of confidence. But perfection rarely arrives, and many opportunities disappear while people are still waiting. The truth is that growth often begins before people feel ready. Confidence often develops after action begins, not before. Think about every skill people admire: writing, speaking, leadership, teaching, business, creativity. None of these begins at an expert level. They begin small, awkwardly, imperfectly. Yet people often underestimate the power of consistent effort. Because consistency is not dramatic. It is not exciting. It does not attract attention immediately. But over time, consistency creates results that seem extraordinary. And perhaps that is another lesson hidden in ordinary things. Simple actions repeated consistently become powerful. A single stone seems insignificant. One step seems insignificant. One decision seems insignificant. One day of effort seems insignificant. But over time, those small actions compound. And eventually, they create outcomes people never expected. That is why people should be careful about dismissing small beginnings. Many important things start small. Many important changes begin quietly. Many significant transformations begin with ordinary actions that nobody notices. The challenge is that humans often want immediate results. They want visible progress. They want dramatic change. They want instant success. But life rarely works that way. Growth is usually gradual. Learning is usually gradual. Transformation is usually gradual. And because it happens slowly, people underestimate it. Now here is an uncomfortable question. What if the thing you have been waiting for is not another opportunity? What if it is a new perspective on what you already have? What if the talent you keep dismissing has more potential than you realize? What if the experience you consider ordinary contains lessons others desperately need? What if the opportunity you keep overlooking is the very thing that could change your future? Think about that carefully. Because people often pray for more while ignoring what has already been given. They search for something extraordinary while overlooking something valuable. They chase distant possibilities while neglecting present opportunities. And maybe that is why this lesson remains so powerful. Not because it is about a sling, not because it is about a giant, but it is about perception. The ability to recognize value where others see none. The ability to see potential where others see limitations. The ability to use ordinary things in extraordinary ways. So the real question is not, what am I missing? The real question is, what am I underestimating? What ability? What opportunity? What experience? What strength? What gift? What simple thing have you overlooked because it seemed too ordinary to matter? Take a moment and think about that. Your answer might reveal more than you expect. If this message challenged the way you think, subscribe to Grace Unseen and join a growing community exploring the hidden meanings, timeless wisdom, and deeper truths found throughout the Bible. And before you go, leave a comment below with one thing you believe people often underestimate in life. You may be surprised by how many others need to hear your answer.